Who starts at 5? Who starts at 5?
You gotta start at 5. Listen.
Who starts at 5?
I start at 5. I go 5.
Pop Gen Fusion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Pop Gen Fusion. I'm back in the moon lair, and we're going to get ready for a great new episode. We have a very special guest today. Andrew's been on Vivd. He's been roadie. You know, he's been replaced. I've taken over the moon lair. This is my show now. But no, I have a very special guest today. My good friend Greg. I was able to get in contact with him. He's been all over the world lately, living overseas with his wife. They're doing they work overseas, and it's good to have him here. He's a good friend of mine, and a former podcaster himself. He was the host of the Grown and Blurry podcast. And if I forgot to introduce myself, I'm Gary Gibbs II, aka Okami. And I have my good friend Greg here today. He's a good friend of mine, and we have a lot in common. This guy is also been a journalist. He did the Grown and Blurry podcast, which was a Disney podcast, and I actually did the production on that. And I was really had a good time doing that. He also is a journalist, did some kind of gaming journalism. What was the yeah, you can speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have paid you out, but I was waiting for you to get the whole thing in, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did journalism. I went to school for it. I studied in journalism communications. So I've written for a number of publications. I've written for 411 Mania, which is a wrestling site. I've written for the Washington Post. I've written for Equity Arcade, basically primarily reviewing video games for a living. Just making sure I get to have fun and get paid while I play games.
Yeah.
And give my critique on everything.
And that's what we're here to give our critiques on everything. No, we've been friends for a long time, and as you can see, we have a lot in common. One of the things that we have in common was that we met off was this anime called Martian Successor Nadesico. And Aikido was one of your names. What was it, Aikido?
Aikido, well, it goes by numbers. So like normally I'm always Aikido with my year, 84, or number of the age at the time of me making the tag. Yeah. So it's always Aikido something. Yeah. So yeah. That's
pretty cool. And one of the other things that we are here to talk about today, and that we're both really big fans of, is Sentai. Now, Sentai means task force in Japanese, and most of you experience with Sentai is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or any of the other Power Rangers that came after that. And you a very big fan, just like I am.
Huge fan of Sentai. And like the thing is, what people don't realize about Sentai is everywhere. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a group of 3 or more, it is Sentai.
2 or 3 are gathered.
2 or more. I'll give the leniency to 2.
Yeah.
It can be 3 or more because 2 is like a duo. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. Dynamic duo. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you 2 or 3. I mean, there are, like Andrew said about anime, there are rules to this.
Yeah.
Yes. I like to say 3, but like the idea of Sentai a lot of times is like chosen heroes or whatever. I spoke in the last podcast, which was Pop Gen Display. I talk about how we had the kind of American kind of equivalent. You have the Planeteers, you have Captain Planet and the Planeteers. You had Centurions, which was 3 guys that had special. You had Ace McCloud and I forgot all the 2 guys' names, but there was 3 of them. They had 3 specialties: Earth, Air, and Water. The Planeteers had Earth, Fire, Wind, Water, and Heart. I mean, even when it came to like ideas of the turtles, they're all ninjas. And the Biker Mice from Mars, they're.
Don't forget Street Sharks.
I try to forget Street Sharks a little bit. No, I like Street Sharks. They were cool. They were cool. Andrew's making a face. I guess they're cool. They were fake Ninja Turtles, just like the Battletoads. But I like the Battletoads, except for that really hard board and that no one could beat, the motorbike. The motorbike. But so yes, so with Sentai, you have your 3 or more. I think the limit is probably 6 or 7. And for Moonlair, if you haven't heard me mention it before, I am working on a book called Tenkai Tenjin, which one of the things that I am focusing on is my love of Sentai. And a lot of those elements are gonna be in there. A lot of the elements you have with Sentai is there are a lot of the difference between, I would say, Sentai and like just a team, because a team is specialized people too, right? But even with the team, there has to be some uniformity to the team. They have to have something in common. Like even with the turtles, they all are turtles. They all wear ninja bands. Or they are or they're like dressed the same, or they're from the same. They wear something on them that's uniform. So what would be your favorite? What got you into Sentai, or what's your aspects of Sentai that you love?
Oh, there's so many. So when I think of Sentai, I think of like you just mentioned, like the uniformity of everything. What got me into Sentai, actually, like a lot of people, Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin, the whole idea of 5 beings just coming together as a group, taking down evil, and from there it was a gateway drug to just watching everything else and things that I didn't know were Sentai. Kind of were Sentai, watching like Ronin Warriors. That's the aspect where you think the whole idea of a group, and then from there it just spirals. So everything after Power Rangers ends up being Sentai. So you think of something like Big Bad Beetleborgs VR.
Oh, I forgot you was a Big Bad Beetleborgs.
Listen. I've watched every Sentai-esque character-driven television show, just about, be it mostly American, but I've also watched the Sentai, the Japanese versions of things. But yeah, so from Big Bad Beetleborgs, VR Troopers, oh my God, Mystic Knights of
Tyrannog.
Mystic Knights of Tyrannog. So I watched it all, be it bad or trash or great. I watched it, I supported it. Dumpster fires may they be. I watched them, even up until the one we talked about, but that we were unified on, tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. On USA, there's only 2 people who watched it, probably you and me, and that's why it even you know what it is, and you know what's great about those shows, some of it, even though they're bad, they have catchy themes. It's like when you hear a tattooed teenage alien fighter.
That was just 90s.
Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. Tattooed teenage alien fighters. Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills. Like you hear that, it's like, okay.
I try to erase that from my memory.
Listen,
apparently this guy remembers it.
I remember it all, man. We are VR.
Well, everybody knows VR.
Yes. But yeah, I do like the aspect of just the camaraderie and them striving for one goal and just fighting for something.
For you, does it go beyond like the tokusatsu kind of genre? Because you see stuff like the Japanese style, like stylized like that with Power Rangers, and you see here we got Ultraman here. And then VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs, which is based off the metal
Kabu series.
Yeah.
2 series actually.
They combined that to one.
They combined. So the first season was based off of, I believe it was Kabuto original. Yeah, B Fighter, Jaku B Fighter.
That's right.
And then Beetleborgs season 2, which was Metallics, where they had the different armor. That was based off of B Fighter Kabuto.
How different was what they were trying to do in Beetleborgs versus?
Completely different. It's like, it's not even close. It's not even close. Like they got on the whole idea of like the kids being younger and saving the world.
So they weren't kids, or
no, they were adults. The Tokus was like full-fledged adults, and But you know what's funny? I actually like the concept originally of Big Bad Beetleborgs. Because it starts off as like 3 kids who are into the comic. So Big Bad Beetleborgs is actually not. It's already an established comic in the series of Big Bad Beetleborgs. It's already established. Like it's in the comic book shop. Like it's as big as DC Comics.
You know what turned me off to Big Bad Beetleborgs was the fact that it was their fault.
100%.
Because it was 100%. Like they wished for them to have these powers, right? And in doing so, it created all these monsters. So now they got it's basically cleaning up their own mess.
Oh yeah.
So it to me it was less because for me like, I like the Sentai. There's this great evil and it comes and then you got these special kids or special beings or young people or whatever that have to go stop them. With them it was just like we wish for these powers and now this bad stuff happened. Now we got to clean it up. But I mean,
that was season 1.
Okay.
Season 1 it was their fault. Season 2. The threats actually became more real, and they actually had to clean up stuff that was outside of their control, in a sense.
Okay.
Actually, not even a sense. That is what happened.
Okay.
I mean, look, I'm not convincing you to try to go back and like watch an episode. But I'm just saying it was a guilty pleasure, because at the time the Beetleborgs were like, they were my age, like right down to the core, and it's like it was cool seeing. And it was kind of diverse in a sense because you had Black, Hispanic, you had a white male, of course, then you had a woman, a girl.
They tend to do that when it's just 3 of them, right? Because that was like VR Troopers. It was the white guy, and it was the black guy,
JB,
and it was the girl, Kate. It was the Caitlin, right?
Caitlin, JB, and Ryan.
Little known fact. Well, I mean, it's not a little known fact at this point. Most people know that was it Ryan Steele?
Yes.
Was originally supposed to be played by the late Jason David Frank. He was supposed to have his own show called Cybertron, which was the original version of VR Troopers. But he was so popular in Power Rangers, they had to bring him back. And I think it was the Ryan Steele, the actor who plays him, he tours, he goes to those cons as, there's still a big fan base for that. And the sad thing about it is that show never got canceled. They just ran out of footage. You know.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, and that's the thing, right? So, because VR Troopers originally, well, it's based off of 2 series. So, if you notice, they're
never in the same scene.
They're never in the same location because Ryan Steele's Transformers characters from another series, whereas the other 2 are from a different series. So, it's like they never show each other. And the suits that they wore, funny enough, they try to imitate the whole Power Ranger aspect because before they transform, they go into a simulated virtual world and they transform into 3 different costumes, right? And that's the only time you see them together. But those are American made, and the problem is because Saban was so cheap with his production, the costumes were just spray painted versions of the Power Rangers series because you had Ryan Steele have his Tyrannosaurus Rex helmet with just spray painted red, blue, and green. And then it's like, wait a minute. And you have the mouthpiece the same. It's the exact same. Are you kidding? Haim Saban was super cheap.
He's super cheap.
It doesn't even make any sense how cheap this man was.
And he's like a billionaire.
And
the funny thing is, I was actually happy when Disney had bought the rights to him, but then he ended up buying it back.
It went through Disney, then was it Hasbro, and then it came right back to Saban.
Yeah, and then right in time for the Lionsgate. Was the Lionsgate movie still under Hayam, or was it before that?
Lionsgate was right at that threshold, so it was right there when they could have got when Saban was getting the rights. Okay. So I think it was right before Saban.
So one of the things that if you grew up around our era.
No, I'm sorry, that's not true. I'm sorry.
No.
It is Saban because Saban got the rights for Power Ranger Samurai.
He did, because I thought they filmed that when Disney owned the rights to the Power Rangers, they were filming in New Zealand because it's cheap. And most people, Lord of the Rings was filmed in New Zealand. Most people go out there, but I didn't. I figured that was still done out there, but maybe it was done in the I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, so the last one that was found by Disney that was filmed in New Zealand was Power Rangers RPM. And that was 2000. I feel a way about RPM. RPM happened. It could have been Born Greatness, but it's a lot of issues where it's too many.
So here's the thing. So as far as Power Rangers, when did you? Because there came a point where I stopped watching Power Rangers like regularly.
Right.
Right. When did you stop, or did you ever stop?
I actually stopped watching on a regular, continuous basis around what season? It was right after SPD, Power Rangers SPD. When they got to Mystic, that's when I said, okay, I've done enough.
Okay.
I've had my fill, but before then,
you rode the train longer than I did, because to me,
did.
I did Mighty Morphin to. I stopped at Turbo. Once Turbo hit, and then I came back. I would dabble in during Time Force a little bit, and then I was out again, and then I came back in around. What was it? It was the ninja one called here? Because I was about to call it Hurricaneger, because that's the Sentai version.
It is the Sentai one. Ninja Storm.
Ninja Storm.
Ninja Storm.
What I didn't like about Ninja Storm, I like Ninja Storm, but what I didn't like about it is they didn't know how to write the Power Ranger series as this continuous story, because the Sentais aren't really connected either directly,
No.
but they appear in each other's shows, which is good. They are in the same universe, but what they did with that one, the Power Rangers was a comic book, and it was like they weren't real, but then they got the powers of the Power Rangers. It was like, all right, don't be doing that.
Beetleborgs-esque.
Beetleborgs did it way sooner. But you said SPD. What did you say? SPD was
SPD was
the last one.
The last one I liked.
So I would like to say, like, the three top themes to me are the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme, and he actually thinks that Power Rangers Zeo is the best Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme ever. And then to me, it's which I like it too. I think it goes in order from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Zeo, and then SPD. They're all done by Ron Wasserman. He legendary composer. He did the original X-Men theme for the Fox show. But why do you think that why do you think that Zeo is better? Why do you think that Zeo has a better theme song than the original Power Rangers?
That's easy, because Zeo, to me, Zeo has like it's a perfect sequel to Power Rangers, right? It's a really good sequel to Power Rangers, and the theme song sums up the journey they've had.
Explain.
So, spoiler alert, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ends with the command center destroyed.
Okay.
The power coins are destroyed. There's nothing else left to do. There's all hope is lost. There's just nothing to do. What are we to do? The world needs Power Rangers. What are we to do? Well, turns out, Zordon's been keeping secrets. He's been having a super base under the command center, by the way, Zordon is a person who's pro child labor, by the way, because when the kids when the Power Rangers turned into kids, he had them go collect the Zeo crystals.
Was that during
yeah.
Was that during a strike or something?
No.
No, why would the actors
No. So the reason for that, because they do this a lot, they were filming, the first time they turned into kids, they couldn't do it because they were filming the movie.
Okay.
And that was easier for them to just let them go and just do their own thing. The second time was just straight pure laziness in 95, 96.
Okay, you still have to explain why the theme is better.
Okay, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that.
All right.
So you hit that whole core about the whole idea of like getting the Zeo crystals back, and then stronger than before.
Okay.
All Zeo, powered up for more.
Okay.
Rangers to the core.
Still Rangers.
It doesn't matter what they are. It's still Rangers to the core. Zeo.
Stronger than before. Go Zeo. Powered up for more. Go Zeo. Rangers at the core. Zeo. Power Rangers. Higher they can soar.
The string, the chords, the vibrato. There's you know what? This is the first time they actually put lyrics into the theme song. There was lyrics in the original, but you had to actually hear it on the soundtrack.
Oh, which is they've got
a power in the force that
you never seen before.
No one thinks
I
about
love
that
version.
But see, I love it too. The problem is when you think of Power Rangers, no one thinks of that chord.
They just think
they
of
go Power
they just think
Rangers. When you play Zeo, you know the whole thing. People always say when they play the Zeo thing, they say stronger than before. Go Zeo. It's like they do that. Like they don't do the Zeo, go Power Ranger. It's fire. It's fire. It's hard. It's hard to top that, man. And then you know what and then it's hard to top that. And you can't follow that. How do you follow that? Mighty engines roar, turbocharge for more.
Well, Turbo had a lot of problems anyway. You know what's funny? There's a lot of shows that they shot, a lot of versions of Sentai. Then this gets into Sentai. That version of whatever they chose to be, was it Turbo? Was like a parody show anyway.
Yes, correct.
So it was they were making fun of it. So why would you adapt that version? You know what I'm saying? And not adapt Die Ranger at all,
Which is criminal.
Now, for those who not know, Die Ranger was the Zords that they used for the second season are from that show, and that's when you see that they had the outfits that has like the white kind of coats over them. Now, and it still was 5 of them. I thought that should have been their power up, but the only difference is I think they thought that people were associated too much with the colors. Like Zach would have had to be Green Ranger. Which has been fine because they was gonna turn Tommy to the White Ranger anyway, so they could have just wrote that in. You know, but they wanted them so associated with those colors that I'm assuming that's the only reason why they didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding, they wanted to keep the original costumes because it was so popular. Like Haim Saban is always about, if it ain't broke, I won't fix it. Like and you know he just wanted, like, you know, it's such a big deal, it's a big hit, we'll keep the costumes, and it would have cost more on his end to change the costumes, because then that would have led to more marketing, and the marketing would have been handled differently, and that means more funds going out to marketing a whole new costume set with the whole idea of the Zords being used with the footage, and then you got to think at this point 3 of the members were about to leave. So Haim Saban was like, I'm not paying you guys.
He was paying them peanuts.
$500 a week. He was paying them.
The hottest show in television.
Action figures, promos. They had to do tour press junkets.
Yeah.
They did press junkets. They were partnered with Dare Drugs. Dare.
That kind of reminds you of like the writer strike that's going on right now. Like
100%. It's why union is so important.
Not the writer strike, it's the actors and the writer strike. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so I that's what I think contributed to that, or at least a factor to that reasoning. So
now up until what's your first experience with the actual Sentai, like the Japanese equivalent?
Okay, yeah. So my first intro was Dairanger, which you just mentioned, which was the footage used for season 2 of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin. And then from there, you just go the rabbit hole. I watched Geki Ranger, the one that Megaforce is based off of, Power Ranger, the pirate one. I love. It's One Piece Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Don't you have the morpher, the gun?
I have the morpher for the. It's not. What I want to say, Geki. It's not Geki Ninja. What is the name of it?
It's like Kaizoku something.
Go Ranger.
Go.
No.
It's not Go Ranger.
It is Go Ranger.
Is it? I don't know.
I can't. I love it so much. I can't.
You a little too excited.
Yeah, I can't let this go. All right, so let's see.
It's Go Kiger.
Go Sager.
Go Sager. Okay.
Go Sager. Yes, Tensu Go Sager.
Is it Go Kiger?
Oh, it can be.
I think it's Go Kiger.
But I think it's one of those. No, it is Gokaiger.
Yeah.
It is Gokaiger because the theme is pointed in my head right now.
Yeah,
So you got it.
Yeah, it's
It
Gokaiger.
is Gokaiger. Yeah.
So what do you
yeah.
feel like the differences between the two are? And what to you feels more like, what's cooler to you, or is it the same? I know people who watch both and they're just kind of like, all right, this is Power Rangers, this is Sentai.
Are you saying what's the between that?
Do you have a overall?
Overall, I think both have their place.
Mm-hmm.
I think for authenticity, I like the Sentai more.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there's pros and cons to both series, and I think one leans against each other in a sense. So like when I think of the storylines, I think the storylines are better fleshed out in the Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
I think the characterization is better fleshed out in Sentai. But where I think Power Rangers wins is the lack of homogenization.
You mean like diversity?
Yeah, yeah. It's you get different walks of life being a different ranger, and that leads to different aspects of the story. And I think, and of course, Sentai is a Japanese series, so of course, I don't expect them to have a different walk of life or different race in there.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something nice to see when you see different ethnicities being different Power Rangers. And it all started with Mighty Morphin, so I like that aspect.
So knowing what you know about Sentai and in Japanese and the Power Rangers, are there any anime equivalents or anime series, should I say, that you see that in, like those aspects, and that you like, okay, this is a Sentai, and that you've been a fan of? I mean, if we go to the shoes that you wore today, we have.
Here we go. Now we're talking Magic Girl anime right here. We're talking about Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the quintessential Sentai right there. You know, if you're talking about like maybe, honestly, even something like Nadesco, Martian successor Nadesco, which is what we, you know, the whole idea of like a group, which is like a spoof off of Evangelion.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of working as a team to be even in a spoof. You know, I
do think that's more of like a team in the sense of like a squad, like a whole army versus specialized fighters. You got, because when you take, I'll say like Saint Seiya, right? Saint Seiya for sure, because then the main cast is like 5 of them, right? The main cast, and then you have Ronin Warriors, aka Yoroden Samurai Troopers, and there's certain things that you associate with. One thing I take away is that what I would probably include in like Tenkai Tenjin is, it's funny, I had to get used to the idea of Red being associated with leadership or a centralized character, because coming from like playing in the arcade as a kid, first player is always blue. Leonardo was blue. He's my favorite. You know, you just kind of associate that with the color blue. To me, it's almost like how in you have PlayStation over here, right? To confirm, what button do you press?
That's right.
X,
it's
right?
X.
But in Japan, you press O. It's the same controller, but they just choose that as to be a different confirmation button. It's just it's like slight differences like that kind of like, it's like, okay. But knowing like for like Tenkai Tenshin, I know that to me that's like a general rule is Red is centralized, and because it kind of goes with their personality. Red is usually passionate, headstrong. Black is usually rival characters, or a little bit like kind of the muscle, depending on their personalities. You got Yellow, who's usually like ditzy or a tomboy or something like that. You got Blue, who's usually loyal to Red. Usually they're kind of the brains, or there's some kind of honor bound in them. You have the Pink Ranger, who's usually like the princess of the group, or like the mom of the group, depending on, you know, or sometimes both in a way. You have interchangeable ones like white and green that can kind of be whatever. You know, they're usually like that, either white, green, or like because sometimes green replaces black.
More often than not, yes.
And then there's gold, silver, kind of white. There's usually that extra ranger. They use that extra ranger, and they bring some kind of like mystery or some kind of like mystery to the character or whatever like that. and I'm kind of gonna follow those kind of like guidelines. But it's kind of funny because Red being like the centralized character, it goes back to that that song, that Ninja Turtle song when was the Public Enemy said that Raphael was the leader of the group.
Oh yeah.
And that pissed me off as a child.
If Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Donatello make up the team with one other fellow, Raphael. He's the leader of the group.
It pissed me off to no end. It was like, yo, no, Leo's the leader. I know. But it was like, did he know something that I didn't? Did he associate it because he was red? No.
That's why he watches Sentai. What's that?
Yeah, you gotta say he must have watched Sentai.
Chuck D watches Sentai.
Chuck D pissed me off with that. And that's Raphael. He's the leader of the group. What? Mm-hmm. Since when?
You know what's funny? In one cartoon iteration, the new one, not the one that has the...
Not my turtles, as my friends
The one that has the gross animation. It does have gross... It's pretty...
Well, people actually like it a lot. They like Leo's portrayal in that because he's a lot more... he's not the main character. He's like vain and he's like thinks he's cool. It's like more for comedy or whatever. Mm-hmm. But what I don't like is I understand why they did, because how many times can you retell the turtles? Like I love the turtles. They can be told so many ways, but they're like all different types of turtles. Like one's a snapping turtle or something like this, and then Raphael's like the super huge, big old like Razor. He's basically Razor in that movie, in that show. He's actually voiced by I don't know his name, the actor who played in 8 Mile. He was the big guy who was, it was two guys. They were brothers. One was the one with glasses on, and the other one was like the big guy.
I used to watch 8 Mile all the time.
It was a small crew. It was like B Rabbit,
Future.
It was B Rabbit, Future, Cheddar Bob, and the two brothers.
Oh,
the
yes,
one
the
who,
heavy, yes,
the one who broke B Rabbit and said, "Yo, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, dog," something like that. Yeah, so he plays Raphael in that show. Yeah. So yeah.
You can't mention Sentai without one of like the coolest anime to have that Sentai-esque feature, Digimon.
Yes.
Digimon, the Digi-Destined.
And it was 8 of them. I said 7 earlier. This is a pass because it's 8 of them.
And they interchanged too.
But it was 7 of them for the longest time, I think. Was it? Or was it? It wasn't 8 of them because it was. Can you name them all? Off the top of your head? Ty,
Joe,
Matt.
Oh man. Oh my God.
Izzy.
Did I say Ty's sister?
She wasn't there.
Later.
She was the 8th one, I think. Because you had. All right. Let's see if we can name them.
Yes.
Ty, Matt, Joe, Izzy. TK. This is Matt's brother.
Yes, TK. So that's 5.
Is that 5? And then there's the girl with the hat.
The cowboy
hat.
I just say she's from Dallas in my head. Yes.
I feel like I'm failing as a Digimon fan right now because I know all of these.
See, on the spot, right?
Anyway, but the point is they were Sentai. They were chosen, and that's kind of like one of my big things about that separates like kind of like Sentai versus like just a regular team of like specialized people. Some event has to bring them together. Even though I would consider like the Ninja Turtles, they're brothers, but they were in a bowl together and they were mutated together. They're all turtles. They all have were trained. So, but that's like saying something on the like American side of things. But like Captain Planet and Planeteers, though, they were chosen. The rings found them. Pollution is plaguing our planet. Gaia sends rings to find out. They're basically like kind of like Green Lantern, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so,
5 of them.
Send 5 of them, and then they let our powers combine.
That's right.
So, yep. Yeah, Wheeler, Linka, Mati, Kwame, and Geek. I had the biggest crush on Geek. Kind of like Linka a little bit too, but
they had 2, or I think 2 of the most destructive powers.
Yeah,
and followed by Earth. I think.
Where was Geek? What was Geek? They just said. They were from continents.
They tell you each place they're from.
They don't say where. Well,
they say the continent.
Well, Wheeler was from New York, though.
They say North America, though. So,
but he was
New York.
He was 100%. He's 100%. He said his name was Joey. No, he wasn't. Actually, he wasn't. He was Wheeler. I'm thinking Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh, but they're like the same guy.
He's Wheeler. He's the same. It's
the same
voice.
guy.
This reminds me of the same voice. Yeah. They interchange it.
His power is fire.
So Guy was from the
Kwame was from.
They just said
He's just from Africa.
Africa, North America, the Soviet Union. Well,
Yeah, she's a country that no longer exists. Because it's funny. It's funny because I actually have a comic book that has the Planeteers on, like the first issue of. It's the first episode, right? And Wheeler asked, he's like, "Yo, babe, I love your accent." And he said, "What is that, Russian?" She's like, "Soviet." And it's like, well,
yeah,
you let me
back then that was yeah, you had to there was none of that.
Because the Soviet is a bunch of like other countries. Like it's like what? Isn't it Ukraine was considered Soviet? Prussia and Georgia. So all these other countries. Most people just think Russia.
We just think.
But it like got destroyed and formed anyway. But that's kind of like a fun.
Yes.
So in Geek, I think it says Southeast Asia or South Asia.
They say South. They say Southeast Asia.
So she don't know if she's Chinese.
That's the thing.
She's from Cambodia.
Vietnamese.
Yeah.
I mean.
And I think Mati was just South America.
South America. Yeah.
South America.
Yeah.
They try to just cover everything.
Listen, living overseas life, you just realize you're going to different places with the planet.
Little known fact: Whoopi Goldberg was the voice of Gaia.
This is true.
That was a really good show.
It was. It's funny. My wife was mentioning if any show or movie needed to be remade in this day and age, it should be Captain Planet, because the way things are happening with like global warming and climate change and. What better message than to do a reboot and show how destructive each of those rings can be? And like,
it's funny when I think of wind powers, right? You think like, wind. It doesn't look strong animated, right?
No, it doesn't.
But you're driving home and it's a storm and it's like a bunch of wind coming. Crazy. Like you think you're gonna die, especially when you're on a bridge, right? So like wind, like all them powers. The powers that the Planeteers had, think what Storm could do, like the X-Men. But the power with fire, water, and Mati could probably talk to animals and stuff with the heart.
In the wrong hands, heart can be very destructive. Heart can be extremely destructive. It's funny. I had a conversation with a coworker about this like months ago, and I said, "What do you think is the most destructive ring?" And I said,
"How did this conversation go?"
I just thought about this. I just think of random conversations I have with this guy at work, and I'm like, and I thought about this because things have been happening in the world, right? Like I see what happened in Turkey, so right, with the whole buildings collapsed like instantaneously. And I'm like, in my head when I saw that, I'm like, that's the Earth ring. Or when I see a tornado happen or a hurricane, I'm like, well, see, that's Linka right there. That's somebody pissed Linka off. Or then when I see anything that just happens like
imagine when they let their powers combine and Captain Planet comes.
He's exactly so like
one of my favorite episodes when the villains form Captain Pollution.
I was thinking that's what I thought in my head when I was explaining like the stuff that's happening. I don't know why I thought Captain.
But
Pollution.
What's funny about that? Why would they willingly want to destroy the Earth? Like that doesn't make. They were.
What they were invested in. Right, exactly. You're invested in this planet.
Yeah.
You die too.
Yeah. It was just they were just made to be the antithesis. I always like when they do shadow episodes. There was the creation of Negaduck from Darkwing Duck. I always thought that was amazing. The Rowdy Rough Boys when the Powerpuff Girls. And they had to like use their womanly wiles to get the best of them. But that's the only way they would have won. No.
Snip. What was it? Snip, snails, and puppy dog tails instead of sugar, spice, and everything nice.
I think it was Mojo Jojo made them, right?
Jojo made them.
Yeah.
That show was ahead of its time.
It was because it was a Gennady Tartakovsky.
Gennady Tartakovsky.
Yeah, he made he made this new show, and I didn't watch it yet. It's like wizards or something, no unicorns or something. It's supposed to be really cool. But anyway,
he's good.
But you know what? The Powerpuff Girls, that's a Sentai.
That's a Sentai. That's a Sentai.
That's a Sentai.
Sentai's everywhere.
Sentai is your favorite R&B girl group. It's SWV. It's NSYNC.
Backstreet.
It's Backstreet. It's 112.
It's 112.
It's High Five.
It's Drew Hill.
It's Jodeci.
It's Soul Decision. No one listens to Soul Decision but me, but it's okay. It's okay.
The way they have those those idols in Japan and Korea, like, come on, man.
Listen, BTS, It's so K-pop. I'm all about that. That's all Sentai.
That's
all Sentai. Sometimes they stop at 6. Sometimes they stop at 10.
yeah. Some don't even sing. They'll just be dancing.
Nope, they just don't. But that's just how it is over there.
So what do you think that are like rules to the Sentai? Like, you know, like if you tell I'm writing a Sentai, what do you gotta include in it?
You have to include roll call. You have to include transformations in order. You have to when you.
What
Okay.
is that a necessary rule? It's just because all Sentai doesn't mean transformation.
No, but the core is henshin.
Okay, all right.
The core is henshin. You have to, and that's the thing. I feel like that's more Americanized, but since you're incorporating a little bit of both, you know, I feel like the order doesn't matter. That's okay. That's superfluous. That's for me.
Now, what is the roll call? Explain what the roll call is.
So, the roll call is whenever any Power Ranger or any group transforms, usually Power Rangers or Super Sentai, they call their name, the name of their costume, the name of their powers out, and then while doing a lovely flamboyant pose as they call their names out in specific fashion and flamboyant fashion at that. So
do you remember any of the any particular roll calls? Like for me, Shinkenger, right? I may or may not have said it before. Shinkenger is my favorite Sentai. It was known here as Power Rangers Samurai. Now, it was very samurai based, and when they transformed, they would kind of say their regular name. It would be like, you know, Shiba Takaru, and then he would just do a pose, you know, something like that. And they would all say their stuff in order, and then they would say something at the end. You know, they would like the main character would say something, what they are together, and then they all say it together. They never did that too much in Power Rangers. Like, you know, it was, they would make it really wacky because you know they did a lot of voiceovers with it. Mm-hmm. Like I think I'm assuming this happened in Zoo Ranger. Zoo Ranger was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. When Tommy joined the Power Rangers at the end and they all morphed together, they had them talk like, you know, 6 working together, blah blah blah.
To fight
evil. But they were saying other things. You know, they were kind of saying what they were and stuff like that.
Yeah, they weren't saying any of that. You better watch out, Rita. Because we're the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
No, so for me, the smoothest roll call in Sentai history is Dairanger. None from the Sentais that I've seen, none of them move with the fluidity and the formation. When Beyonce says get into formation, Dairanger gets into formation.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you, when they call, and it's precise too. It's like when the Red Ranger, because he has to start it off. He says, "Who Red Ranger?" and he does the little high move with both fists, and he curves his arm around perfectly. And it's like, who choreographed this? And then you do even the Yellow Ranger when he does the drunken style. He even does it with so much precision.
Is the yellow drunken or is that the green?
No, drunken is yellow.
Okay.
Yellow. That's yellow and the green. Yeah. Rest in peace. He
did pass away.
He passed away in 2017.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And didn't miss a beat, man. They every time, and it's funny because even on the episode where they didn't have powers.
The powers, yes. That's something that you see sometimes because, you know, there's different suit actors. So a lot of times the real actors have to learn to mimic the moves of the suit actors. And them suit actors are very precise.
They are precise. And let me tell you, I remember an episode of Dairanger, and near the end when they did not have their powers, they still believed in being Power Rangers. Well, I'm just going to say Power Rangers. They're not Power Rangers. But yes, when they still believed in fighting the good fight, they did their poses with the same precision as humans as they did when they had the costumes on. There was fluidity. There was everything to it. Like even, it was just super smooth. I couldn't tell the difference.
They did that in the last episode of Shinkenger as well. And looks like we're going to go a little bit over time. So we have a lot to talk about. So, as long as the cameras are rolling, we're going to keep talking.
That's right. That's right.
It'd be a lot of editing for me, but let's go. So, yeah. So in Shinkenger they did the same thing, right? But there was like a little not controversy, but I think the actor, the green suit actor, he couldn't get the movements right, so he had to do something completely different, and he was really upset. He's like, I couldn't get it right, but he did something cool. I thought what he did was pretty cool and much more complicated than what he did in which the green suit actor did, because the suit actor does like a sliding of his finger over the blade. He says his name and he does this like Tani Chiaki was his name. He just sliding this, and at the end, out of the suit, he did this kind of like twirl thing with the sword. I'm like, that's kind of better, but you do want to do it the same. You wanted to have it because everybody did the same. The girls did it the same. Like everybody's like, you the guy who messed it up. But no, Shinkenger is one of my favorites, and the roll call is great. One of the great things about when they do team up episodes is you have two teams of Rangers or Sentai, and they all do their roll call and their transformation. And the closest thing I think we got to it here, well, it kind of did it in Forever Red episode, sort of, but then they kind of did something in, what was it, Power Rangers? Which ones was the one when Tommy came back? And he was the Black Ranger.
Oh, Dino Thunder. I was thinking
it was Dino Thunder did a crossover team with. It was like
Ninja Storm.
With Ninja Storm. Wasn't it 3 teams though?
They actually they're the ones who did it differently. They did it with the previous generation, the previous show, and the future show.
Yeah.
So they did it with Ninja Storm, and they also did an SPD.
Yeah.
Get crossover. So.
Yeah, and then it was like. They just did a rack of explosions. They did like 1 million explosions for that. It was super cool though, but for a Power Rangers fan, it's super cool.
I love those team ups. That's the one thing I think the Sentai and the Power Rangers do evenly well.
No,
I'm gonna tell you why.
I disagree.
No, I'm gonna tell you why.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
No, negative.
I disagree. You saw that? What that was that? What's
Let's
the
not
one?
talk about that one.
You know what I'm about to talk about, right?
Let's not talk about.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know
what am I talking about? What am I talking about?
I assume you're talking about the Mega Force one.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's not talk about the.
That was the biggest fail in the history.
That was 100% fail. But I'm talking about prior to that, the ones where it's just focused on the current season and the previous season. It's like when they had Lost Galaxy and In Space.
And that's 2 of your favorite ones.
I'm telling you, In Space has the best finale of Power Rangers. It does. It does. It's like, so you got to think like it ends the Zordon saga. That's the Zordon saga. It just ends there, and they were supposed to end that at period. It was Power Rangers would be done. Click. After that, no more Power Rangers.
That would have been a good finale for the series.
Oh my god!
Because I think everyone knew who they were at that point. Like they before they went into space or something like that, right? It was like even Bulk and Skull knew who they were and all that kind of stuff.
One of the best character developments you could have, Bulk and Skull. Up until that point. They came back on it was like Megaforce and because then like Skull got like rich. And his son. They was in Samurai. It was in Samurai. The Bulk. It was Bulk and Skull's nephew. Skull's son. So it was his nephew. Yeah. It was his nephew.
And then Skull came at the end, and he was like rich or something.
He was super rich.
Which is funny.
Rich. He worked in a sandwich shop apparently. That you signed in once and for what was it the Power Rangers once and always?
I didn't see that yet. I was kind of like nervous to watch it.
Don't be. It's fun.
Okay.
It's a fun watch. It's a fun watch, but.
Okay.
But back to the whole crossover team up thing. I think that notwithstanding, because that was just another dumpster fire, and I was hurt by seeing that.
What he's referring to, that we've been alluding to, was when it was actually from the Gokaiger show, which was in Japan, which they brought back actors from every Power Ranger show preceding it. They did that equivalent. You've seen, scenes of like Tommy and all the Power Rangers. Like they got a lot of actors to come back, and all they did was like take off their helmets and they show some like footage. They really didn't. It wasn't a real team up, and it was like in the distance. And then you had all the Rangers like, look, it's this Ranger. Look, it's that Ranger. And they didn't really do anything. It was the biggest fail ever. It was such a disappointment. When in Japan, it was all like, let's do it. Let's just have a war.
And you dedicate, and the Sentai dedicates a whole movie for that. Like,
yeah.
It's worth a movie. Like, and most of the actors from the original Sentai to all the iterations made it out. made it out. And they even had, what was great about that is they even had their own little mini montages about them, like the guest characters. You could see them outside the costume having conversations. I'm like, that's what you do. I imagine because of the whole union issue, they couldn't get everybody to come. I mean, that's the whole thing because Saban was at the helm at this point. He wasn't paying everybody.
Yeah, and a lot of those shows were didn't have, that wasn't under his regime or something like that.
A number of those, yeah. A number of those were like still Disney at that point.
You know, Billy's coming back. He's back for the new show.
He's coming back as the mentor.
Yeah.
So why not? You should.
That's like his life.
And he was fighting for that union. They did him wrong in the original.
Did. Yeah, I heard they did him dirty.
They did him real wrong in the original. But yeah, man.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Oh, but going back to the team up real quick,
Yes.
just before they do this thing in the Sentai, which I think is way better than the Power Rangers equivalent. Every time a new series is about to start, they do what they call like the handoff, where the last episode of they'll show like when the show ends, they'll show the Red Ranger of the new show come, and then tag in for the Red Ranger of the old show. It's like this little thing they do all the time. It's really cool.
That was fire when the Red Ranger got the handoff to Gokaiger.
Yeah.
I was like, that was smooth, man. Captain Marvelous.
Yeah.
The Gokaiger Red. That was just excellent, man. That was just perfect. But I mean, I like the I think because I had an attachment to certain character arcs in Power Rangers that I enjoyed seeing them guest star in future iterations, like the next series iteration. Like when I think personally, in my head, the one that stands out is Power Rangers Space guest stars on Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
That makes sense though.
Because Lost Galaxy was even though it was a kids show, that was this first season where the stakes were too high for a kids show.
Because somebody died, right?
The Pink Ranger died.
Yeah.
Sacrificing. So the stakes were high in Lost Galaxy, right? So this is the first time, even for a kids show, they brought so many concepts in Power Rangers. This is when Power Rangers was trying to be a little more serious than the previous iterations. One of the Rangers died, sacrificing herself to defeat a previous villain from the past season, the Psycho Rangers. And then, I mean, behind the scenes, the reason why they had to kill the character off is because I think her name is Valerie. I can't remember her last name. The actor who played Kendricks. She had cancer at this point, so they had to write her character off. So when she was going through chemo, so they killed her character off that way, and they brought her back at the end, which was a good resurrection. And then they gave a redemption arc to the previous villain, Astronomer from In Space.
I like that too because she was also the sister.
Andros.
Andros, who was the Red Ranger. They gave his story. It's just sad. It's always funny. It's easier when it's the same cast and it's a new cast, but when you have a character who has to go from like different, like TJ, he was Red Ranger. he had to go to red. He had to go from red to blue. So it's like a demotion in a sense. It's almost like at least Jason kept his dignity. He stayed the Red Ranger. Zordon was like, and now the leader of the Power Rangers. I was like, what?
And you know what's crazy?
and Jason's just like,
And you know what's crazy? That wasn't even supposed to happen. When Tommy received the White Ranger powers, Jason was still going to be the leader. But the problem was they were writing him out because he wanted more money. They were like, okay, fine. You want to be? Tommy's a new leader now. Get out.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well, they did a bad job of like.
Oh, that was terrible.
Of like, they would show fake versions of them.
Yeah, so they would be in costume and you could hear offshoots of their voice.
Yeah.
Trying to imitate the best Zach, Jason, and Trini they could do.
Oh man, can he do that?
They had a terrible Red Ranger one time, and he sounded like a Japanese guy, and he was like, Thunder Saber, like trying to mimic Jason's kind of gruff voice. I was like, come on, bro. Because, I didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going on at the time. What is going on? Why are they barely showing them? Why are they walking by and that guy's clearly wearing a wig? Like, it's like, what are they doing? And then they just left. I was heartbroken That's why I actually like the current Boom Comics run, because it kept the fact that they went away, but they went the way to become different Rangers. They actually went away on a secret mission in space, and they became like, I think Omega Rangers.
The Omega Rangers.
And the helmet is really dope. Like somebody made a real Omega Ranger helmet and gave it to Walter Jones. And like there's a picture I have of him having the Omega helmet. So it's like Jason Zacatrini, and then they met a new Ranger in space. Like they were still working with Zordon, and sometimes they would work with the original Mighty Morphin, which the book is good. The book is excellent. We're talking about the Boom Studios version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's really, really done well.
I'm telling you, so I'm almost current with that arc, and then it's amazing. Yeah. It's super amazing. And then they also have a podcast that on the Power Ranger story, and then the telling of that is just excellent. Like it's really well done. Like it's gripping. They cover so many different arcs within Power Rangers, and they fuse things together. And the way it's done, you can tell that they're fans of both Power Rangers and Sentai, because they incorporate it seamlessly to make it seem like we made it first.
Yeah, the aspects of Sentai. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the personality traits and stuff like that. The little isms that you would see of Sentai.
Costumes, all of that.
And then, I was mentioning earlier about how color, depending on like in English, used to throw me off. Like when I say English, North American versions, like I used to associate leadership with blue and different things like that. What kind of messed me up like that too a little bit was Voltron. Even though Keith was wearing red, but then Lance was blue, and then there was Sven who was wearing black.
Sven.
And then they he dies, right?
Yes.
But I think in the dub he didn't die. He just had to get hurt, and the princess had to take him over or whatever. And they did that remake really quickly. I'm sorry. They did a remake real recently in Netflix, right? And I liked it at first, and there was one nagging thing about it that really messed me up. One, I liked that they kept Sven alive.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. Well, Shiro, they used his Japanese name, which was Shiro, voiced by I think one of the best Spider-Man voices, Josh Keaton. He's a great. He was spectacular Spider-Man voice, but This goes into like the seriousness and the cheesiness aspect. The main thing they did tonally, they did a really good job with mixed comedy and kind of seriousness with Voltron, the Netflix version. But the one thing that they should have did, and I think that they probably went back and forth on, is they didn't, when they formed Voltron, he didn't do the speech. It wasn't, form feet and legs.
Form body and torso.
Form arm, head, he formed arms and torso, and I'll form the head.
And I'll form the head.
It's like, do you leave that out because it's like, oh, that's too cheap, that's going over the line? No, I feel like that would. You have to keep some of that stuff to keep it like that gives it the stylized aspect of what a Sentai is, or just a team, just that kind of, you get the five and it's the cool. It's like, oh, you change, you play the theme music, and then he says all these things.
That's the heart. I don't even think that's like border, like cross the line of like being cheesy. Even back then, like that's just the dynamic of how groups and Sentai like type things work. Yeah. Like it's like a rule of civilization, like within its own community.
I feel like they left that out because they feel like, oh, that might have been too much. But they did the same thing with the Lionsgate Power Rangers. A lot of people said they liked it. I did think they incorporated a lot of those Sentai isms in that Power Rangers, where they had the Zack, instead of Zack being more like playful like how he was that typical Black Ranger, where he was like moody, he was kind of the bad boy. You had Jason, he was a little bit more headstrong. Kimberly was like princess of the group. You had Trini, she was like tomboyish, and Billy was like the smart guy, right? And they did a good job with that aspect, but they went too serious and didn't morph the regular way of they play the theme music almost like kind of like a novelty for us. And I remember people in the theater were like, "Oh, this is so cool." They played for like 5 minutes when they got in their Zords, and then that was it. They didn't keep the same aspect of like the coolness. Like when the Power Rangers was originally when they was forming, there was a lot of talking in the head. It was like, you know, 3. All right, now form your crystals. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, power crystals. 3, 2, 1. Power. Like there's certain things you gotta keep. You can if you're serious enough when you say it. You know, I talked before to Andrew before off camera before about like there's like you know, you always talk about things that, you know, this thing doesn't take itself seriously. If those characters take themselves seriously within that, it's fine. It doesn't seem weird. It doesn't seem cheesy. Even if it does seem too cheesy, it's not for you. You know, I just feel like there's certain aspects of it that have to remain the same. I remember a couple years ago, there was one of those directors. He did like this parody of the Power Rangers where everything was super serious and like Zach was like snorting cocaine.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was like, I remember some people were like, yeah, this would be great. I'm like, no, it's not. It would be
looked
terrible.
at that, I was like, this is too much.
It's just it takes you out of it.
You're doing too much. I'm like, he's like, and then they're like hunting them down and like being murdered, like the coinless, which they do better in the Boom comic, by the way. The coinless term. It's like, I was actually with Jason David Frank when he posted his complaints about it.
Yeah, I remember he did.
And people were like, oh, you gotta lie now. I'm like, no, he's right. This is too much. This is way too serious for its own good. I don't need a dystopian.
I hate dystopian anyway. That's my personal little thing. I got into like a conversation with my friend the other day about it. You know, I like dystopian, but there's a place for. I mean, I don't really love it, but you know, there's a place for it. But you don't. There's certain things you don't do with Power Rangers. You know, in regards to that. You know, getting the call on the show, but there's certain just things there's certain level of seriousness that you take, and then there's you can incorporate those stylized things within a serious story. One series that does a really good job of that, I thought, which is anime, which is Battle of the Planets, aka G-Force. My first experience with it was on Cartoon Network when they brought it back as G-Force. It's got rebooted so many times they tried to bring it over here. It was Eagle Riders on TV Saturday morning at one point. But they people died in that show, like a lot all the time. But then they still did like the, you know, we're gonna like pose at the same time and do flips at the same time, and then they were themselves serious within that, and it just kind of worked, you know.
And you know, and it's funny because you're talking about that. Sentai can be used as an inspiration for evil too, if you think about it. Because think about the reaches of where Sentai is. You can see the influence of Sentai. Dragon Ball Z, the Ginyu Force. That is 100% Sentai.
But that's also they're making kind of parody of it a little bit.
So that's what I'm saying. So like they know that, and it's great. Car Ranger was a parody of the Power Ranger season years ago. The Sentai season, like it wasn't. I can't remember what it was originally called. Not Car Ranger, but the one that they were parodying off of before.
Oh, you talking about for Turbo?
So Turbo was Car Ranger.
Yeah.
But Car Ranger itself was a spoof of another Sentai that happened. Yeah. By the way, I want to mention Jetman. Jetman. People who want to watch something that has a mix of seriousness and that level of cheese that incorporates all the Sentai, Jetman. And I implore you to watch Jetman, and then after you watch Jetman, watch Gokaiger. And I say that because there's stuff in there. There's a scene. So Gokaiger basically, each episode, because they're celebrating the 25th, I think it was at the time 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary of Sentai. They bring a person from a previous season, and they learn a lesson. They teach the current group a lesson about whatever the theme is for that episode. I say that so there's a Jetman episode. And I don't want to mention why that's important, but like if you watch Jetman and then see that, it's gonna tug at you. I was like,
you mean at the end?
Huh?
You mean at the end?
For Jetman?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was sad. I felt it was unnecessary, but it was.
Listen, that was wholly unnecessary. But I was like, whew.
I mean, the show was probably 30, 40 years old
at that point. That was like two seasons before Zoo Ranger.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we could spoil it, but no. Well,
No,
watch
because
it.
I implore you to watch it. It's worth a watch.
Yeah, I think
the
it's-
characters are really well done too.
Yeah, I
It's
think
worth
they
a
are.
watch.
I think a lot of the older ones do really well with character development.
You know what's funny? This is kind of might be a hot take. It's probably sacrilege what I'm about to say. I think Zoo Ranger, but the characters aren't really not great. They're like almost regular compared to like the other Sentai. Like, I mean, I watched a good chunk of Zoo Ranger.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think there are aspects of, I think Power Rangers is better, maybe because that was my first, but I also think there were elements of Zoo Rangers that I would have loved for them to put in Power Rangers. For instance, them using their motorcycles more.
Yes.
I like the Dino Buckler. I like the way they took it out and spin it around and then morphed. Instead of just, they did it a little bit in, they did like that, but they didn't really go into it. I like the stylized way they took it off in the Sentai version. But that's just kind of really it.
They did do that season, episode 5, season 3 of Power Rangers.
They did do it. They did it. Yeah.
They did the best they could with that one.
Yeah.
When they did the whole dance and just
Yeah.
They
that was actually pretty. I thought that was pretty cool. When I
I
saw
did
it back
too.
then.
I did too. And but then the characters themselves in Zoo Ranger, I feel like they weren't very interesting. I feel like there wasn't much aside from certain dynamics with the Green Ranger and the red one.
Yeah, they were brothers. That made it cooler.
That made it cool. And how he received the shield.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I feel like there wasn't much to drive me to continue watching it. So if I was someone to ask me, so what would be your gateway Sentai that I should watch? And I'm like, well, if you like Power Rangers, then you should start with Dot Ranger. You shouldn't start with Zoo Ranger. It's like that's what I that's my
If I was to try to get somebody into Super Sentai, I would not have them watch Zoo Ranger.
No, because it's gonna
I will have them watch either Geki Ranger or was it a Shinkenger? When I started getting back into them, those are two of my favorite ones. Geki Ranger is so, Geki Ranger is easy because it's a kung fu drama. That's literally what it is. It's a kung fu drama. They try to differentiate itself too much in the Power Rangers version. I think but they took a lot of aspects of it. But then the way they morphed with sunglasses, which I think was trash. But some people
I
liked
remember
it,
that when they put the thing when they did the tap.
Yeah.
Boy. No, all right. So yeah, those things happened in 2009. They exist for your viewing displeasure, and yeah.
So, some people might like it. Some people might have fond memories of it. I think Hurricane Ranger was really good. It was better than was it Ninja Storm, but Ninja Storm was okay.
It was solid for what it was.
Shout out to the Red Ranger. He passed away some time ago.
Yeah, he did, and then that was an interesting season.
So one of the other things that we have love for, and in common, we like video games, right? But we also have like a couple series that are Sentai-like in our video games, particularly JRPGs, and that is Shin Megami Tensei, Persona, and Persona 5 to be particular is one of the ones we played more recently, and that has a lot of Sentai elements in it as well.
100%, and it's funny because you actually put me on to it. You and our other mutual friend, and he's like, you gotta play Persona. I was like, do I have to play Persona before the other? I've never played anyone before 5. Do I need to no, it's like Final Fantasy. I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, they're all technically like that. I mean, the one I played, 3, 4, and 5. Is that one of our producers' phones going off? No, but yeah. So I mean, either one of you, 3, 4, 5, but 5 was the more recent one out at the time. It was very stylized. It has a lot of elements. You have these chosen members. It was always fun getting a new one added to the team. It was kind of like it was great. And yeah, it has a lot of those aspects that you would see in the Sentai, in different character kind of traits.
So it's funny because Persona 5 actually has my favorite aspect of a Sentai, or something I like to see incorporated more so into those group dynamics is the idea of like each character having their own little mini arc that leads them to discovering who they are and getting an extra power up, be it their own discovery of their power from the beginning or a new power up. And that's actually my favorite aspect because like, you know, you're a team, absolutely, but you can't be the best group of you without being the best version of yourself. So and
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot.
And it's like with any relationship you have in life, you know, it's that balance. And I think the two things that shows or like series that do it the best, Digimon and Persona. Like when I think in my head, automatically off the top of my head. Others do it well, good as well. But like when I think of that, truly when they dedicate like some good time to that person for them to like get that power. Like when I think of the Digidestin, how they got their regular powers, they got their ultimate power, how they had to get what was it, the one after ultimate, the Mega, like the Metal Greymon, and they had to go through obstacles to get that power. Yeah. And they do that in Dairanger. Like for at least 10 episodes, they don't even have a Megazord. They're all relying on the Red Ranger and the Dragon Zord. They're relying on that, and they're all getting in that cockpit of that Zord. And they don't get those other Ranger they don't get those other passionate. But they don't get those other Zords or machines until like later on. And even then, they don't form the one unit until even episodes later after that. So I love aspects like that. So it makes the team stronger. It's like a Sentai therapy session where you're all going to a camp and you're having a thing about yourselves and you're figuring it out. Hey, I'm figuring out that I have the fire within me. Okay. Or the water's super strong within me. So like now I have this ultimate Megazord that I can control, who I can make, and that Zord defeats the villain on its own. I love stuff like that.
Oh, when it's that, yeah, okay,
when it's like that,
yeah.
And Sentai does it good with the blue ones. I've noticed that the blue always ends up they all get good ones, but the blue ones always seem to be my favorite ones. So I think those aspects should always remain in a Sentai or a Sentai-esque type showing. You know, I need that. Like to me, I don't think. Sometimes if I had my way, if I were creating a Sentai or something of that ilk, if there were a group of like five people, 4 of them wouldn't have their powers until like much later, and then the one would have it as it like. You
like the slow burn.
I like the slow burn. I like
build up. Yeah.
Let us rely on you until we figure out how we can be the best versions of ourselves. I'm supporting you, but in the meantime, it's gonna suck. But like, we gotta rely on your power until we can figure out our power to come together to help you to be one. Because like the song says, Ron Wasserman, 5 for 1. That's right. I had to throw on.
It goes back to the Three Musketeers type aspect.
Yes.
You know.
I can't be the best D'Artagnan.
All for one and one for all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I love that. And I don't.
I mean, I think you know, even that it's not officially a Sentai, but it has a lot of elements as One Piece. When you see, and they would do a lot of those things where they would sit in the pose, or you would see like, you know, even when the early arc, when Arlong arc, when Nami was sick and they all went, it was Usopp, Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro. You just saw 4 of them walking side by side about to do something.
Yeah.
They would do that a lot. They would do these poses where it's like, all right, everybody about to fight. The whole group, they all lined up. Or when they rescue Robin, they all standing up on the thing, shooting the arrows. You know, say you want to live.
I'll say you want to live. Dun, dun,
and then that's when she officially joined the party. So it's like that was officially her induction to the group. And you know, even though like, and because the Straw Hats are like this crew of like 20, it makes them. They're stylized, a specialty. you know, and it's like only like 8 of them. I think it's like 10 of them, whatever, now, whatever.
At this point.
So, but they all have a role.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your captain, kind of got your first mate, who's like your swordsman. You got your navigator, you got your cook, you got your doctor, you got your sharpshooter, you got your historian,
your merry man.
You got your shipwright, and then I think eventually you kind of get the veteran and Jinbei. So yeah, it's like that. You get these kind of specialty kind of characters, and all of them have their own reasons for doing what they want to do in their own specialty arc, but they come together and they support each other. And that's kind of what a Sentai is about. You have this clear, they all have their individual motives, but they all have this goal together. You know, like especially a lot of those other Sentai shows where they're like maybe like a military show, like kind of like the SPD equivalent of that, where they have their backstories, but then they're there to take this threat. And that's always the fun part and then how they get along with each other. You have to have a little bit of drama. You have to have bonding, and then they create these bonds that last forever, and that will definitely like make them stronger.
See, you can't take that out. That's like that. That's the core. I mean, for me, that's the core of what makes truly Sentai, or really what helps elevate a Sentai to make me enjoy it for what I do, for as much as I do. And on a more superficial note, I loved it when they always came back to base of operations and took their helmets off. And they just kept the costumes on, you know, or because you see that in also like what was the game? Beautiful Joe. That he would take his helmet off at the end and he would just hold it to the side. Yeah. And then I love that.
So you like the stylized stuff?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I like the stylized things with heart. And the slow burn stylized items. Those are my key aspects, and you gotta have those.
Okay. So those are the things that have to go inside. That's what makes a Sentai a Sentai.
For me, absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Do you have a particular type of character that you like within the Sentai? Like you said, the Blues always have these arcs, and Blues tend to have similar personalities when one another. They're usually like either honorable or they're super quirky and they have this special bond usually with Red. It's usually like best friend loyalty or whatever. They never really explored it too much in the live action, but Billy did really appreciate Jason. But I mean, you saw it earlier that he had a closer bond with Trini, though, at least in the early goings.
Right, because that was her translator. Yeah. That was his translator. Yeah.
They didn't really follow for T in that, but they did it in the movie. That I appreciated that. You know, that he was. I think he was on the spectrum too. They wrote him as being on the spectrum a little bit.
In the movie. Yeah.
So that's I appreciated that about the movie, but I didn't really like that they went too. They were a little stiff to me. They didn't take enough risks as far as like stylizing everything. Because if you watch a Marvel movie, you'll see they did a spinning shot with all the Avengers. Yeah. Like people like that stuff. Everything doesn't have to be super serious. People can still die in a series that has stylized stuff. It doesn't make it less. It doesn't make it less serious, or that you can take it less serious. When death is around and when the stakes are high, the stakes can be high. But other times you can go for a laugh. You can go for something that's a little Spider-Man posy.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
It's great, and back to your point about the question you just asked. I feel like I guess some explanation. I do gravitate more towards the blue, because usually it's either the more level-headed, the calm, by the books, the whole idea of. Because if you notice, the blue ones end up having the belief in their actions of, if I work hard, I'll get my desired result. You know, and you see that within Geku Danger. You know, with my boy, man. I can't remember his name, but he's so...
Retsu.
Huh?
Retsu.
Bro, Retsu, man. He's really, really dope. I really like his art. But I think those are the ones I end up gravitating towards. And Joe and Gokaiger. I love that. And the Tenma Ranger and Dairanger. Like, I tend to gravitate towards blue more so in the Sentai issue forms, but yeah. But other than that, I don't have too much of a favorite. I like everyone for what they bring to the
everyone
table.
for what they bring together. Everyone has a role because, if they're by themselves, then they're just like by themselves. That's not a Sentai. You're Ultraman. And Ultraman's cool. Kamen Rider is cool. The funny thing, that Sentai aspect about Kamen Rider is something that I find annoying about Kamen Rider today. Because Kamen Rider was always supposed to be the solo hero, but now you watch these new shows and there's like 10 Kamen Riders in there. They're a Sentai group themselves. They don't even be on the same side. So I'm like, calm it down. Because I always think Kamen Riders are supposed to team up with the Sentai, and they're supposed to be the solo hero. They're supposed to be like, they're supposed to be like.
It's like Spider-Man teaming up with X-Men.
With X-Men, right? It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like he's the solo guy, but then he teams up with them. Mm-hmm. Not like they're like 6 Spider-Mans too.
Yeah.
We got Miles Morales now. We do got like 6 Spider-Mans now, anyway. But
they still would be. They would still have them by themselves.
By themselves, right?
Teaming with a group.
But that's kind of like the good equivalent to that. It's stylized. It's definitely those core elements that you mentioned about having those individual stories, and that's something that I definitely am incorporating into my story. Mm-hmm. But also being able to work together as a group for the whatever purpose that they need to be together for, and that they all special. Even if you have a central character, the one that has a main arc. Usually it's red or white, depending on what it is. But everyone has their story, and everyone is there to be together and for their purpose. Mm-hmm. And that's the definitely big thing about Sentai.
Exactly. And going back to what you were talking about, like the whole idea of like the corniness, and then you can be serious, but you can raise the stakes while still having that charm. Mm-hmm. You know what Ranger series I think did a good job of that? Time Force.
The Sentai version of the Quantum Ranger got killed. He got shot in the head or something like that.
Oh yeah, it was pretty bad for that man. It wasn't a good day for him. No, absolutely. But you see, they kind of they did a little bit of mixing of that with the original. I mean, with Time Force. You had the original Red Ranger. The Pink Ranger was the leader at this point. Still was, honestly, even throughout the series.
Shout out to Daniel Southworth.
Ooh, Virgil from
Devil May Cry. He's the Quantum Ranger.
That man did his own stunts in Quantum Ranger. The most serious looking morph of all time. That man had the most solemnest face when he looked up to the camera.
He has like a permanent hero chin and just scowl on his face. He looks like mean all the time.
He does.
But
he does.
And he plays Virgil like that too.
He said, "Welcome aboard, you're hired."
Right. He's walking the door. He just said, "Hey."
Had the sword in his hand. He's like, "Hey, we know you from a show. We've seen you somewhere. Yeah. Here's my resume." You might have seen me as a Quantum Ranger from Time Force. 2001 to 2002.
Yeah. He came back though for 5.
For 5? Which one? Oh, he did for the Forever Red one.
Yeah. No, he came back. Oh no, I was talking about Virgil from.
Oh yeah.
Devil May Cry 5 as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah. He did.
Oh yeah, but he did come back as for Forever Red.
Mm-hmm.
Story made 0 sense, but nobody cares because we had all our Red Rangers on the screen at the same time.
So what that the villain that they fought was the villain from Beetleborgs, the Shadowborg. Mm. We don't care. So what that Serpentera came back, and the fact that Serpentera was destroyed well before this happened. Fan service.
How did Tommy get his Zeo powers back?
How did TJ get his powers back? Because everyone who had their powers at the Zordon era should not be there. And matter of fact, all of that was not supposed to happen. All of evil was supposed to be wiped out. So Zordon sacrificed himself for nothing. Well, Andros he made the tough call.
Andros, man. That's your guy.
My guy was demoted to blue.
You talking about TJ?
First of all, let's talk about. I want to do a little shout out, a small little shout out to TJ. TJ was the very first Black Red Ranger. You know why I think they demoted him to blue? Because he let the command center die under his watch. by a jokey character, Divatox. The command center was destroyed, their powers were gone. He did lead the team into space though. He was the tactician of the group in space.
They had to give him something.
They had to give him something. And you know what's funny in the comics? They talk about that. They mention the fact that he's salty, that
Really?
he's blue.
Really?
They say, why is he in his closet? Why is he still in the corner sulking? Well, you know, ever since he became blue, he's been different. He has to come to grips with the fact that he's not the leader.
Wow.
Like they hint at that. They talk about that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we could talk about this for hours.
But yes, shout out to Selwyn Ward, who looks the same, even to this day.
Does he?
Yeah, he does. He was in the February.
We don't talk about
I mean, we don't. We don't.
Not, healthy eating, right?
He
probably
does.
drinks a lot of water. But man, yeah, we talked about some Sentai stuff. I hope you learned some things and listen to us ramble about some Sentai stuff. We can talk about this all the time. Oh, this is what we do talk about. We probably gonna talk about this even more off camera.
Pretty sure.
But I just want to thank my friend Greg for being here. You know, and he's permanently replacing Andrew. No, I'm joking. Andrew will be back.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on out here. I'm not Don Cheadle.
In fact, Andrew is here. So Andrew is here. MM Smart is here. We are in full force, as always, Pop Gen Fusion. And we will be back. And I forgot to mention to you at the beginning of the show, because, you know, we have our catchphrase, and Andrew's not, you know, here. You know, he's not in front of the camera to say the catchphrase. So you have to come up with your own. We'll give you a little bit of time in your head to come up with a catchphrase.
I already got something.
You already got something?
I already got something.
So thank you for watching this episode of Pop Gen Fusion. Be sure to go to our YouTube, you know, you're on our YouTube channel, I'm sorry. Be sure to hit the like and share button and subscribe. Tell all your friends. Go to moonlairstudios.com, buy Go Go Gonzi, buy AK Yumi, buy some stickers in Namiko, and you're gonna be buying Tenkai Tenjin. What we talked about there, you're gonna be buying my book, okay? Stay on the lookout for Dynamic Manga, which is full cast audio for all of our manga. It's gonna be it's like anime and manga combined in a nice fusion, a Pop Gen fusion, Pop Gen like fusion. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, later days.
And if you ever feel lost in this world, grab a friend and remember 5 for 1. Out.
5 for 1 out. Thanks, guys. See you later.